All right, welcome back. It is the day after that big budget. No, literally, it was a really thick book. Let's bring in Mike Eppel, who is going through every single page. Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Hungover, actually.
But with coffee, we should say.
Going through 740 plus pages of budget, and it was all online. Yeah, they had the physical copy in Ottawa, but the lockup this year, you know, like everything else in the pandemic, is completely different than the way it used to be. We didn't have to hoof up to Ottawa and be sequestered in a room. Now I did it just on my laptop, basically, but scrolling through all of those pages, it just became overwhelming, actually, Melanie. I have to say that this budget, not just the overall number of pages, but the number of targeted measures was almost immeasurable. There is something in this for a lot of voters, I'll tell you that.
Yes.
And massive spending, and that was to be expected. But you know, when the centerpiece is the child care initiative, which has been talked about dating back to Prime Minister Paul Martin. They actually had a child care initiative on the books back when he was Prime Minister, and it was subsequently defeated by the incoming Conservative government. So here we are with this idea to have, you know, potentially in 5 years' time, $10 a day daycare. The cost, though, you know, to start is $30 billion. And then after, I think, what was it, 2025, 26, the annual cost from the feds will be $8.5 billion in funding. And on top of that, the provinces have to pick up some of the tab.
Right.
So you're talking about an immense amount of money. You know, the argument is we're going into these huge deficits now because we can afford to do so. Interest rates are incredibly low. But I look out, you know, 4 or 5 years from now, who knows where we are for borrowing costs? Does $8.5 billion all of a sudden turn into, I don't know, an additional $400 million just in annual interest rates to pay for it? So, you know, there was interestingly no basic income discussed, no national pharmacare, and that's been a plank of the Liberal Party now for the past number of years. So even without that, there's still $154 billion in the hole for this year and $30 billion in the hole by 2025, 26, and a $1.4 trillion debt load at that point.
There's a lot of numbers for people to wrap their head around, but as you said,
that's just it.
It makes you dizzy.
That's exactly
right?
it. They're going to have a marketing campaign also of immeasurable levels just to get all the messaging out, because again, there are just so many small line items, $1 million here, a couple of million there, that kind of thing. It's not just necessarily all of, you know, and homeowners are getting retrofit low interest or no interest loans is one of the things they're talking about through the CMHC. If you need new windows or furnaces or something like that, that's all part of the green economy. The CERB or the CEWS, the CEWS emergency wage program is being extended. I mean, this thing was just chock-a-block with all sorts of measures that get us through the pandemic and then build on that after.
And then some. Okay, so if you want to comb through it like Mike, you can go to both the 680 site as well as citynews.ca. But I want to get to this. Apple announcing some new products today. And are you excited about any of them?
Yes, actually. If they come out with something like the Tile service, Air Tags, I think is what is being discussed. Something that I can stick on my AirPods when I can't find my AirPods or my keys or something like that. It's kind of like Find Your iPhone, but for individual devices. That is of interest to me because I'm always forgetting where I'm putting things.
Me too.
And the iPad. I mean, how important have tablet devices become in the past year? iPads have always kind of been this. They've been important for Apple's ecosystem, but not like the iPhone. I think over the past year, they've gained more importance, and they're going to get a fairly sizable upgrade today in not so much size of the device, but the scope of the power within those, and make them even more useful as a mini computer.
Absolutely. Big for the kiddos who are doing the remote learning. Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah. And for all of the streaming services and everything else you do on these tablet devices, right?
All right, Mike, have yourself a great day. We'll keep an eye on that Apple announcement. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, coming up next, here's the question. Should Premier Ford resign? Opposition parties calling for his resignation, saying that the latest round of restrictions were poorly communicated and executed. We'll bring you more details coming up.